Hey, good evening, neighbor. You should come on out of the cold there. It's windy and snowing, and I don't want you to stand out there any longer than you need to. Well, I'm Pastor Shadow, and it's good to see you. Thanks for coming out. I know that we weren't able to have worship service today, so I'm glad we're able to make something like this work. Oh boy, yeah, come into my living room. Take a seat. We'll talk for a little bit. Oh gosh. Yeah, Ash Wednesday. I know it's a lot of people's favorite holiday, but it's a holiday that doesn't get a lot of time, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. We don't even have any hymns for Ash Wednesday in the hymnal, but I do know that there's several good ones, like number 629, the Abide With Me one. You might have heard it before. If you get a chance tonight, you might want to check it out. I think you'll appreciate especially verses 1, 2, and 3. So Abide With Me, verses 1, 2, and 3. I'd sing it, but I think YouTube would take it down. Not because it's copyright issues, but because my singing's not all that great. Anyways, we'll get to it. Oh boy. So, do you have any Ash Wednesday memories that you especially recall? I know myself, I think about when I was a little child and the pastor would put the ash on my forehead, and I kind of thought it was silly and I didn't really know what it meant. And I didn't really think about it too much until I became a pastor and I started putting ash on people's forehead. And yeah, this time especially, I'm going to miss that opportunity, but we'll probably sprinkle that in on Sunday. Yeah, sprinkle, it was a joke, but I can't hear you laugh. We'll talk about that Sunday. Anyways, we have a couple of things to talk about, but I think it'd be fun to read the gospel lesson for Ash Wednesday. This comes from Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, and then 16 through 21. Jesus said to the disciples, "Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so as to show others that they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that your fasting may be seen not by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not store for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust consume and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." I always wonder after reading the gospel on Ash Wednesday what Ash Wednesday is all about. Because most holidays it's about Jesus, and it's about something that he's doing or has done, or about the triune God, or about some special feast day. But Ash Wednesday doesn't really have all that. It's really more just about us, about how we choose to live and what death means. And I know that there are some times where you might not have time to go to an Ash Wednesday service, so you might get ashes on the go, which is a cool thing because you end up thinking about all day the ashes that are on your head, and it makes you reflect. But I think we need to spend a lot more time with what Ash Wednesday could be. You know, it's not like a pool that you could jump in, it's more like a hot tub. You want to slowly test the waters, make sure that it's not too hot, let your body get used to it. Because we're talking about something that we don't get to talk about too often, and that is, well, kind of our beginning and our end. When the pastor says, "From dust you came and to dust you shall return," we're talking about death, and we're talking about how not only we will die, but everybody that we know will die. And the things that we choose to do will eventually disappear. And no matter how strong we build a house, it'll eventually succumb to entropy. And our ideas that we have, one day we'll lose them. And it's kind of really upsetting to talk about this. And I think that's why we do it as a community, because when we're all together, there's a little bit of extra security there. But I think there's great value in looking at death long and hard. To prepare for Lent and Ash Wednesday this year, I was reading a book by Ernest Becker called The Denial of Death. And he says a lot of stuff in here, but he tries to go on to say that all of culture, all of civilization exists because we're afraid of death. And I don't know if I buy that completely, but I do know in our culture we don't like to talk about death. We try to hide it at any opportunity. We don't really even talk about it straight on. We say someone is pushing up daisies or has kicked the bucket or they've passed on, and that proves that we are a bit afraid of talking about it. So I guess this Ash Wednesday, this Lent, this coming Sunday, we get a little bit of time to look soberly at what death is. And we do it not because we need to focus on death, but because when we do that, we recognize and realize just how important grace and the life of faith is for us in Christ Jesus. So I suppose you probably want to stay out of the weather, and we'll make sure that you have time to spend with your loved ones tonight. So I hope you get some nice warm soup. I hope you have a fireplace like this, and yeah, I guess we'll see you Sunday. Thanks for stopping by.